Hi, I'm Jim, and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop. And today, or tonight, or whatever, I'm going to try to get this shift lever put back in this machine. And I tell you, I've been battling with this spring. These things are not easy to compress. I bought a spring compressor, but this is for a car. It's for compressing the springs on valves. It seems to work pretty good for this. It has its moments. Well, we'll see if we can get this thing pinched down and put together. Now, this, like other parts on the machine, I am doing some tweaking, making this machine a little more reliable and a little better as far as lubricating it and taking care of the rust issues. We did all that. We took everything apart and painted it. Now this particular shift handle arm, I want to make sure I call these parts right or I get they let me know. So this one has a grease fitting in it. Where's my grease fitting? It was right here a minute ago. Let's just hate when it happens. Well, that's okay because I bought a whole package of them. You can get these down at any hardware store. Menards, Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, Tractor Supply. No, we don't do cutouts. And what's the other one? I don't know. So you can buy these in a package of, what is it, 10, couple of bucks. These are quarter 28 grease fittings, straight ones. You can get right angle, 90 degrees, whatever you want. This one had a grease fitting in it, but I had to take it out. It did not want to come out. I had to, as you can tell on the end, I had to grind that flush and drill it out. It was not a threaded one, it was a press fitting. And why do you ask I had to do that? Well, here is the thrust washer that goes on here. And here's the bushing that goes on here. This machine has bushings in it. Okay, there is their hole, cross hole, for the grease to come out of. And when you put the bushing on, it covers the hole up. Isn't that swell? So I drilled another hole. And you want to make sure when you drill them holes, this bushing goes on like that, that it's in between the two bushings, not underneath of it. So when I drilled this cross hole in here, I didn't hit their hole. They don't drill any deeper than they have to. So that's why I had to remove the grease fitting so I could drill the hole deeper and hit the hole that I put in. So the grease will come out. Another issue, very thin and flimsy thrust washer. These are not meant to be placed where they have them, under the spring. We got the bushing that goes on there, and then the spring goes on. If the end of the spring, you can see it there, lands where it is right now, all the weight is pushing against this flimsy little piece of steel. It bent it over. It was all bent out of shape. I just hate being bent out of shape, believe me. Typically, compression springs are ran through a parallel grinder. It has two grinding wheels, usually belt. They have belts on them, and the ends of the springs are ground flush. So that means all the stress or pressure from the spring lands all the way around this coil, which on this style it does not. So we made a thicker washer to go on here first. That doesn't matter where the spring lands, it's not going to bend this. It's 150 thousandths thick. It takes up a lot more room, so that means you got to compress the spring more, and you're going to have a little more spring on your shifting. Not going to hurt anything. So we got that on there. We're going to put this bushing on there. We're going to put the spring on, and then we're going to stick it in this tube. I can turn this a little bit. Maybe I can just slide you around here and make you seasick. Now, one thing I'd like to say, somehow I must have mentioned it was my birthday a couple of days ago. Well, a week ago. And I got a lot of birthday wishes from my viewers via an email or a note on the bottom of some of the videos. But I have a couple that I've been working with a lot in Florida, Paul and Felicia, and they sent me a card. So Paul and Felicia, thank you, I appreciate it. That's one thing I've got out of doing this channel that I'm doing, is I have got so many friends and people that continue to get a hold of me even though their machine is done and it's working fine, and I appreciate that. Now you want to make sure when you get this thing assembled that this arm that sticks out is not sticking out. You want it sticking in. That's one mistake I made the first time I tried this. Now we'll get this spring compressor on here. Now if you notice, and I've mentioned this before, the fingers on this spring compressor are not straight across from each other. That's because the springs are wound like a screw, and you want to grab two sides of the spring evenly to compress it. That's why these are offset the way they are. Now, let's see if we can get this thing on here and get it compressed. This is almost a two-person job. Or maybe a three-person job. Now, I'm twisting, I've got the fingers hooked on the spring. I'm twisting the spring to get it tight on there, so when I ratchet this thing down, it's completely pulling the spring instead of just tightening it up a little. Get that outside bushing in place. And let's see what happens here. Now you got to do some wiggling with this thing. As you can see now. But sometimes when you got the spring on there, it's not all the way on this tube. So when you compress it, the back of the spring is hanging down and it doesn't want to slide over the tube, so you can shove that shaft all the way in. So sometimes you really got to wiggle it to get that spring to pop over the end of that pipe. Now we're going to put the thrust washer on the outside and see how much room we have. We have to turn this a little bit to line up the hole. And that's not pushed down all the way. That doesn't look too bad. Let's try it out. Sometimes you have to help that pop through the bottom of the shift arm. kind of like that. Now that's all the way in. We can take this spring compressor off. It does, when you pull out on this handle, that's what compresses that spring. That way the spring is keeping the handle pulled into the detents so it doesn't shift on you when you're driving or mowing. But that looks pretty good. Everything is nice and solid. Now the grease fitting, we'll just take one of these out of here. I'll eventually find the other one. It probably fell on the floor. We'll screw that in there. And tighten that up. Now I'm not going to grease this now. The last machine I rebuilt, I think, was my boss's. It was identical to this one. I got a lot of comments that said, hey, you forgot to grease that. You forgot to put oil in this. That's because I'm going to wait until the machine is completely together, and we'll go over every point that needs grease and oil in it. So right now we'll just leave them dry. That way I don't get all messy when I'm working on this thing at later points down the road. But that's it. I'll tell you that that spring is a battle. And if you don't have one of these, I do show in another video how to compress this with a piece of steel and 2 C-clamps. But this is a lot simpler and probably a lot safer. And these are like 29 bucks, I think. But this was a expensive one. It was a good one. As you can see, if I can get a glare on this, this is made in the United States. They have some that are made in China hanging right next to these, and they're cheaper. But I don't buy Chinese crap unless I absolutely have to. I will look and look to find a tool that I want before I buy something made in China. That's just the way I am. And that's it for this. It's finally in. I'm going to try to upload this. This is Saturday. You should be able to watch this by, if I do it here at my house, it's probably going to be about 6 hours for this to upload. If I run to work, it'll be about 15 minutes. My internet is not real good. Now, if your shift handle does not have a grease fitting on it, I put one on another machine. I think it was my father-in-law's when I rebuilt his. I have a video that shows how to do that. It's number 204. And just follow the tips on that video and you'll be able to put one in yourself. So I guess that's it. Don't forget to subscribe. It really will help me out someday if I get enough subscribers. I did break 5,000. That's awesome. Thank you, guys and gals. I say gals because I just picked up my 16th and 17th female mechanics working on their snappers on their own. The one gal says, my husband's just kind of snickering and he's not helping me. But I can use his shop and tools to do this myself. And more power to you, and you just get a hold of me if you need anything to help you get this thing back on the lawn. So don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you like the video. If you don't like the video, hit the thumbs up anyway. So we'll talk to you soon, and work safe, have fun, and we'll see you later.